Hello and welcome to Ahead of the Curve. This is your host, Jonathan Gellner, and thank you so much for being with us today. This episode is brought to you by 78 Sports. 78 Sports is a full design, supply, and installation team that does it all for baseball coaches and facilities. If you're a baseball coach and you're not familiar with 78 Sports, then you need to be. Whether you're looking to get new hitting mats, replace some L screens, put up a new batting cage, or even design a brand new indoor facility, the 78 Sports team has you covered for it all. As an exclusive offer for our podcast listeners, 78 Sports is offering special pricing on your order when you mention Ahead of the Curve. Give them a call today at 844-478-TURF to get your order started. You can also check them out on their website at www.78sports.com. That's SEVENT8sports.com. On today's show, we have on Houston Astros minor league hitting coach Jose Puentes. Jose joined the Houston Astros in December of 2019 as a minor league hitting coach, and he's currently the low-A hitting coach in the Astros organization. He also coached high school since 2006, and most recently being at MacArthur High School and Johnson High School in San Antonio. He was also an assistant at Steele High School from 2007 to 2012 and Wagner High School from 2015 and 2016. So on the show, we discuss his journey to pro ball. We talk about what separates professionals from amateurs, and we take a deep dive into the middle game and in-between at-bats conversations. You're going to love this episode with Jose Puentes. Jose, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate the invite.
Definitely. Well, I like I said off the mic, I've been looking forward to this conversation for a while and excited to pick your brain. But I first want to let you share your story with the guests. I think you have a unique story of getting into pro ball and continuing to do a heck of a job with the players that you have. And I know that they're super appreciative of you and they're lucky to have you. But tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into pro ball.
Been around baseball my whole life. I never played professional, played through college. I went into teaching and coaching at the beginning at the high school level, and I did that for a long time, and been at different schools in the San Antonio area. Got a little burned out of teaching, got out of the teaching business and coaching business, and went completely in a different direction and went into sales. So did that for about 4 years. And if you know sales, it's a lot of hours to be there. So I had to start a family, and it's even more hours than coaching, believe it or not. And, so I started, start conversations with my wife and decided to go back to coaching in high school. With the new technology coming out, some things piqued my interest, like blast motion and stuff like that. So that really got my interest in hitting even more, because I was actually a pitching coach for about 5 to 6 years, which also helps a lot.
Sure.
It helps a lot with the hitters. So, coached about 2 more years of high school baseball, and then I saw a post the Astros put about a Dominican Academy hitting coach. They were high school age kids. I am bilingual. Spanish is my first language, and I just said, why not? I've never even tried. There were opportunities for college. I just didn't want to do that at the moment. Mm-hmm. So I applied, got the call from Jeremy Barnes, who's now with the Mets as a big league hitting coach. And I was blessed enough and got the opportunity to start there. I only worked at the academy for about 5-6 weeks, and then COVID hit. That was in 2020. So never really went back. Never went back to the DR. From there, they promoted me to the rookie ball, which was last year. It was my first full year. That's an interesting experience as well. A lot of raw talent. It's you really have to love baseball if you're going to be at that level. I'm talking about for the players. Mm-hmm. It's just that every day, wake up super early, play in the middle of the heat of, in our case, Florida, in the middle of the summer. So it's a big time learning experience. And now I'm got promoted again. I'm in low A in Fayetteville with the Woodpeckers, and it's been great. It's been great so far. It's a lot more psychology than than anything
Sure,
else.
absolutely.
But yeah, it's it's hopefully we keep doing a good job, and then we keep continue to trend up, just like the players. So continue learning my position, and just never stop. This is
Sure.
constant learning. So.
Right. No, I love hearing that. And, I'd like for you to dig into more of the psychology side. You bring it up, and I'd love to talk more about it. Give us some conversations lately of what that looks like. So being a guy who's very intentional with connections, it sounds like you are. Talk to us, about, it could be some past experiences. It could be some more recent ones of just things that you feel like have helped players, because a lot of it is you're probably trying to talk them off of how bad they are, because immediately players go to, man, I suck. I'm never going to get a hit again. But just if you have some examples, I would love to hear just some different things that you've done to try and help them through that.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of the guys at this level, they're learning how to be a professional for the first time in their career. They've never been 0 for 25 or for 30 with 15, 20 strikeouts before. They've been the best player everywhere they've been. So they're learning how to cope with failure, and then at night and then during the day, work on it, and then go out there and compete. One of the things that I do purposely is you have to be very careful what you say to them. As far as a player can be struggling, but you can try to be a little bit of trying to find the positive of every single at bat. Even if the result is not there, then you can go back and look at different metrics and show them, or even watch video together. Hey man, it's not that bad. It's the movements are better. Now we can focus more on like approach or things like that, game planning. It's funny because it's like, I tell the guys, like, man, it's like we have like a suicide watch every time somebody strikes out in the dugout.
Right, sure.
I'm like, oh my
Absolutely.
God, here we go. So it's like, sometimes a little pat in the back, and usually immediately after a negative throw, I don't want to tell them anything at the moment. I don't want to. I know they don't want to strike out or they don't want to fail. Let them breathe a little bit, bend a little bit, and then I come and say, hey, man, that was a 7-8 pitch at bat. It's not that bad,
Sure.
Just you're trending right. Try to find a little positive every time. Right now we have a couple of guys that have gone through that, and they're trending up, just consistent work in the cage. And then at the end of the night, when the lights go on, you got to go. You gotta go. No compete. No, just we can talk about the pitcher or whatever, but we're not talking about mechanics. We're going. So,
no, that's really good. And for a lot of these kids, it's probably the first time that they've been away from the complex. So that you've got a set routine every single day in the DR, or for most days, you've got a set routine at the complex because the schedule ahead of time, and usually you're sleeping in your own bed every single night. These guys are going on the road, and maybe for the first time in their life, they're like, I don't know if they feel homesick or not, but it's definitely a different experience when you have to travel along with all of the different things that they're dealing with. And has that been a conversation that you've had quite a bit this year?
Yes, as a team, we have talked about how to manage or or load. They want to swing. They want to swing.
Sure, absolutely.
They might not want to lift or whatever, but they want to hit.
Right.
So some things that I do in the cage, try to ask them to tell me. Certain guys, not all of them. Some of them have a good feel of they know, and it's good. Some of them just keep swinging and swinging and swinging, and it's like that's not it. So some of the things I'll challenge you to just tell me how many swings you got this round. Be like say kind of freeze. It's like they're young, so it's like I don't know. It's like 15. It's like no man, that's too many. It's like under two,
Right.
under double digits. So they'll be like 8. It's like, oh, great. So there's this theory that, you put your mind to something. They say you go in there and you say you have 8 swings, so that your focus immediately should increase.
I love that.
And because you know that you only have 8 and the coach is going to tell you to get out, or because you said it in front of other players, the other players are also paying attention. They're like, hey, you said 8, kind of like that. But the most part, it's only with a few guys want their swings to be more meaningful, quality over quantity. But sometimes we do have to work. Early work is different. So
No, that's really good. And I love that phrase, how many swings you want this round, and just bringing their attention to that. I'm going to steal that one. The other thing,
they're used to swinging. Sorry about
right. That. Yeah, no doubt. The other thing that you mentioned was, you've got a couple of guys that were trending down and now they're trending up. I don't think we could ever get away from that. Like, I feel like as a hitting coach, we've got like 3 guys that are always going good, 3 guys that are hit and miss, and then 3 guys that are always like, okay, how do we get them out of this funk that they're in? I don't think there's ever a time, at least in my career, that I've been like, okay, yeah, all 9 guys are just, they look awesome.
Yes, and I joke with them about it. I was like, man, when are you guys just going to go off where I can just sit back and enjoy it?
Right.
Like,
yeah, exactly.
It's like 3, 4, and then or 2 or 3, and then the other ones. It's just a constant thing.
Oh yeah,
constant thing. So it's like, I don't think that's ever going to happen, but it's just like we're
hopeful.
Try. Yeah, we're trying. We're definitely going to try. Even if it's like, it doesn't have to be like it could be a walk, and that for me that's a positive. So it could be like a long at bat and then like fly out or something like
sure.
that. It doesn't matter. So lots of ways to have a quality at bat.
No doubt. Like I love that you've gotten to experience, teenage kids at the high school level, and then you're still probably have some teenagers now, but like early 20s and professional. You and being a minor league coach, you work with guys, AAA, and probably some big league guys, and you've seen a lot of those guys play. So besides, size and physical ability, what are some things that you've noticed that professionals do different than amateurs that we can start to teach them as teenagers? So I'm thinking like, okay, when they're a freshman in high school, I want them to be able to play like have the ability to play professionally, but to act like a professional more than anything else.
Yeah, you can, if I'm talking like in a cage setup, like you can have fun, you can definitely have fun, goof around, be outside. When you're outside, let's say you're in a group of 4, you're not hitting, then you can, if there's music, dance, I don't care, have fun, But what I've seen, the higher level players, is as soon as they step into the box, they're like, their focus is like 100%. They know what they want from every swing. The majority of them, and I'm talking about big league guys and, higher level guys. There's
sure.
One of the biggest differences is like, they know exactly what they want with every swing. There's a purpose from every swing. They're not swinging just to swing. And in high school, I was there, it's tough because you have 2 coaches and like 20 hitters. And it's like, it's you have to set up environments, but that stuff has to be addressed as a culture. You have to build that culture within the team, kind of not, I don't want to say preach, but it's kind of like model that behavior. So hopefully they learn it. I think, it's more about, unfortunately, I see a lot of, it's about me and me and me at the high school level. And, that's nothing close to the way it is in the professional. And then we have some professional players that are at the lower levels that they still, again, they're learning how to be a pro. So they're learning that some of them handle themselves really, really well. And the other guys see that and they're like, oh, how come he only took 7 swings? They're like, he felt good. He felt it. And why do more? It's a long year. So.
No doubt. No, I really like that. And, one of the other things that you'll get is you'll get guys moving up and moving down, traded over. And I would love to hear how you evaluate players. And so I'm sure you're going to get some information with their stat lines and different things like that. They're moving up or moving down for different reasons. And I'm sure you're made aware of that. Completely guessing, but I'm assuming. Yeah. But I would love, how do you first evaluate a player? Like, how do you, as a hitting coach, connect with him, get to know him better, strengths and weaknesses, and what he thinks, so that you can help him?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. It's like we just got one of the players from the rookie ball. He was there it wasn't because he wasn't talented. He was just dealing with, some other things. But I've never worked with him. I know who he is. There's another thing that we do. I believe we do a really good job within the Astros hitting department. The communication is great. Like, if I have one of my guys move up to high A, which we did already, like I'm going to talk to the high hitting coaches, like, this is what we're doing. This is what he's doing. This is what he's thinking. And then, the feel of like, I'm getting this player, for example, it's like, I can see exactly what, like, look at videos, like, okay, this is what we need to work on. But I'm not going to do that as soon as the guy gets here. I'm going to let him. I'm just going to, and I told him, like, I'm just going to let you do your thing. I'm just going to observe, maybe point a thing here and there, give you some cues, but for the most part, go ahead. I said, go ahead and play, because I think as a hitting coach, sometimes we get in there too soon instead of letting the guy. Let's say you get a guy that's been working on something for 2 months, and then all of a sudden get a new person and want to change it right away. So they're more than likely they won't do it anyway, unless they know you and there's that relationship there. This particular player was very excited to coming up here. He's been here before, excited to be able to work with me. And I said, look, I'm just going to let you right now, just go ahead and do your thing. And then, I told him at one point, you're going to fail and I'll be right here. So, then I'd rather have them try their thing first, and then they'll come to you rather than pushing for something right away without even connecting with the player yet. So, having building that trust, or even though they say they trust you, they don't know you. So, more than anything, you say, I've known this player for now 3-4 days. So it's just like, we know exactly what I need to work on. It's just like little by little.
Sure.
Can't push it all too fast.
No, I love that. Everything good takes time, I think. And that's fantastic. Yeah, for sure. So let's talk a little bit about, where we're at right now. So when the listeners are listening to this, a lot of our high school listeners are probably doing summer ball. You've got pro ball guys listening, college guys that are hopefully still playing. And then, you've got your pro ball guys who are going to be playing for the next 6 months. But tell us a little bit about how you're preparing every day. So what are some different things that you feel like get yourself ready, but also, get your players ready? And you mentioned earlier with routines and different things like that. I would just love to hear any advice that you have in regards to preparing for games.
For on both sides, the coaches and the players, or just the players?
Yeah, absolutely. Both. I'd love to hear.
So obviously you have a routine. Everybody kind of, baseball people, we're kind of routine oriented. So most of these guys, they come in midday, depending whether on the road or home, and then they get whatever workout they need to get done. We have our cage set up for a certain time. We do have what we call early work. We can pull up a couple of guys at a time, maybe dig into something that we don't unnecessarily have enough time to do when we're on the road. But not honesty, I have gotten more out of a player with a conversation than a drill.
Okay.
I don't we look at video together. I always have my laptop out there, and they know I know they're coming to look at it, but I'm close by, so that conversation starts. So make sure we're on the same page. So the cage work that we do, just like try to set up difficult. Obviously, they go through their drills and their routine. Independent on one day, we will have like challenging environments for them that I think will move the needle more. There was a little pushback at the beginning. They didn't like it, but sure. now they're asked for it. So like throughout the week, we'll do challenging stuff. 4 times a week, and then once in a while, you just like, okay, let's do some feel good BP, let it rip. But for the most part, like they have an understanding that when we get in the cage or even in the fields, like there's an intent to it. Like there's a reason why we're doing this, or like why we're working on just say angles or something like that. Like there's there's stuff that's not fun, quote unquote, but it's good for them. So that took a while, and for the most part, they asked for it, which is cool. That's really cool to see. Good. It's just kind of like, oh man, what do we got today? It's like they're waiting to see what we got today. So, and then the thing is, like at this level, you can do that. I don't think you can do that at AA or AAA. That's at this level, they're still working a lot on their swing. Their misses are bigger than guys in AA or AAA, but at this level, I think and especially, rookie ball or high school, college, that should be like standard. So, but I know I did that when I coached high school with the resources that we had. We tried to make it as challenging as possible. So
I really like that. So I was going to save this one for later, but what's a drill that the players love that we can steal from you?
Man, that's a tough. I read the question. That's a tough one for me. I'm not a big believer on like there's a bad drill. There's some bad ones out there, but there's I don't have like a go-to drill. Everybody's different. It's like I would say more like the concept. Anything that gets a player to like stop, I love. Any drill, like, and man, you can correct me if I'm wrong here. Since the little kids, we've been teaching hitters to rotate and rotate and rotate and rotate. I don't think we teach enough of, stop, deceleration, and how that works and how that helps direction and bat speed and adjustability. Adjustability is like the only thing that I think it's like an absolute to be a good hitter. Everything else, you could be, you can be okay, but if you don't have any adjustability, you're done. You're a one pitch guy, you're done. So I wish I could, I don't have anything that anything to stop drill, anything that gets anything part of the deceleration of the chain and anything like that, any drill that involves that, I'm a fan of. So,
really good.
Split stands, stop drills. There's several ones. It's split stands with machine is a good one. Simple stuff, but it depends on the player. It really does. You got to have a feel of. You can't just put a drill just to put a drill. They have to buy into it. Otherwise, they're not going to do it. So, especially here. So.
Oh, no doubt.
Sorry, I didn't answer your question. I don't have a specific one. I try to teach the guys to do. Here's like a lot of my things. Like try to teach them to get the result, even when they're not in because we chase this being in a perfect position all the time. It's like how many times are you going to be in a perfect position in a game? And it's like not many. So it's like learn how to get the result even when you're not in a good position. So it's kind of like, and that's why the challenging environments comes from. They're going to have to figure it out or fail. It's just like, that's the way the game is, unfortunately. And it's pitching, their stuff gets nastier and nastier every year.
No doubt. So when you say chase the result, especially when we're talking about in practice, I know the external cues are thrown around a lot. And for, is that something that you really push of like, hey, I want, see how many line drives in the right center gap you can do, rather than focusing on their body, they're focusing on the result or the outcome. And I call them external cues. I don't know if that's something that you consciously talk about, or if you just talk about the result that you want.
It depends. It depends on the player. It really does. If I have a player that is super aware of their movements, I'm gonna give them like, hey, and we have iPads and all that. We can go over video. It really depends. But with a guy, let's just say a guy is working on his forward move, and he's struggling and struggling and struggling, and it's like just getting blown up by the machine or mixed, or whatever the scenario is. It's like, pause the thing, stop thinking about mechanics, and just get the barrel to the ball. Like, get the result first, and then maybe you'll feel more confident of working on. And sometimes that works. Sometimes that just, that felt good. But it, might have not been the best, but at least the result was there. And then you can go back and, pull back and be like, look, it wasn't that good, but you got the results. So it's like a little positive. You didn't move that well, but you still got the barrel. You got a line drive, but, hit it hard. So that means there's more in there, so try to find the little positive in there. It's like, a lot of my answers are going to be like, it depends, because it really does.
No, absolutely.
Everybody's different. And there goes the little art of coaching. You got to know when to get in there and when not, step back. It's just, but we do stuff like that. There's times that I'm just like, step back, like, go ahead, man, just hit some bombs. It's like, go for it.
Sure.
So, but it's just, it depends.
No, that's really good. Well, let's talk a little bit about, it depends. And that's more of on the mental side, I think. And talking about, pre-pitch routines, prep work. You mentioned early work earlier, which I think could probably give you an opportunity to talk with that in a non-competitive environment. But how are you helping guys with the mental side? I know you mentioned failure earlier and how you want to bring out the positive. But when I'm thinking of mental side, I'm thinking, okay, your prep routines, your pre-pitch routines, your visualization, your breath work, different things like that. Is that some? I know that most professional organizations have people that work with that outside of the on-field coaching. But is that something that you focus on as well?
Yes, of course. I now at this level without the clock, that's like a big time. That's a game changer, the clock. And that was a big adjustment for it. Like, if there's nobody on, like, they have like in between pitches, they have like 3-4 seconds to get back in the box or strike one or last strike. Yeah. That's tough. We had some big adjustments for that. And especially guys that like to take a breath or a back call. And, one of the things that, it depends on the player. It's like you get a bad call. Yeah, look, every time you get a bad call, you lose your at bat. Why? It's like bad calls are gonna happen. It's like, I get emotional, get upset. So now, like, a guy like that, be like, hey man, every time you get a bad call time, breathe, get back in there. It's okay. It's only strike one. You got 2 more. So kind of like stuff like that. Or guys that press with 2 strikes will do that. Hey, call time. Breathe, don't lose your plan, stick with what you've been working. So one of the goals that I would like to have that I'm working on, and it's tough to do this because at the end of the day, you got to get results. I'm trying to get them away from looking at, numbers like average or like whatever, OPS, and look at their at-bats as like a little event. Every at-bat is like a little single event. And every at-bat should be like, I'm 0 for 0. It's my first at-bat. And that's tough, man. That's very tough to do. Sure. Especially when you're a professional baseball player. You're being evaluated how you perform. So get them to think, like, first of all, did I swing at the right pitch? It's like, the answer is yes, then I tell them to ask themselves, okay, did I hit it hard? Okay. Yes, great. It's like, did I hit it in the air? If it's 3 yeses, I mean, that's pretty good. There might be an out, but that's if somehow. I mean, some guys are already there, but if somehow I could get everybody to do that, the numbers are gonna be there at the end of because they're gonna be more focused on swinging at the right stuff, and swinging at the right stuff should get us better results.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that they come in, they miss the ball, they fly out.
Mm-hmm.
And just give you an example. They come in, it's like, man, that was not a pitch for me to swing at. I screw myself on that. That's all me. I did not get beat. So it's like getting them to think like, oh, I pushed, my hands drop, but it's like, just stop. Just like, we already worked on that. Now you got to go. Mm-hmm. So especially here, I know at the big league level it's a little different. They have feedback right away. They have video. We don't have that. So in a nutshell, we have to go by feel in the game. So,
well, tell us a little.
Yeah, go ahead.
Tell us a little bit about how you help them to develop that feel. So you go through the questions of, okay, you felt like you were on time and you swung. Well, no, the first one that you mentioned was, did you swing at the best pitch you got? Mm-hmm. And you say yes, and then when they missed it. And they're having a hard time and they come to you, they're like, Jose, like, I'm just not seeing this guy well. What do those conversations feel like? Because I'm sure you talk about how some of the pitches should look in your game planning meetings, but when you get in the box, sometimes it's different because everyone's perception is different. But how do you help them to make those adjustments between at-bats?
I had one of our players here tell me that, and it's one of the better ones. It's like, man, I'm just not seeing this guy well. It's like, so is that my answer to him? Really good relationship with him. It's like, and I said, is that like a cop out of you're not seeing him well because it's lefty, or is like,
sure.
And he smiles. He's like, can you just stop thinking about it so much, man, and just tunnel in the ball, like look for your area and go. And then next AB was a bomb left center. It's like it's the same dude. So it's like getting him away from overthinking. Sometimes it's a great thing. And just, you already work on certain things. Like you need to be able to trust it. And sometimes they're going to make excuses, and you have to, again, it goes back. It depends. Like, when do you tell the guy? Do you tell him in the middle of the game? Do you wait after the game for the next day when he's calmed down? It really depends on the player. Like, there's some players can handle it. Some players don't want to hear a thing. So, it's at the moment, I always try to give them, obviously you want to give them feedback and you want to help them. Or right now it's really good. It's been 2 months in, a little bit over 2 months. They come to you in the middle of the game. That's just awesome. Like, what do you think? It's like, that was good, and that was good, and even if there's a good result, they come in. Like, hey, we did what we worked on. So to answer your question, it really again, I'm going back to the same thing. It depends on the player. When do you give it the feedback, or because it does happen? It's like, I'm not seeing him well, so it's like, okay, so what are we going to do about it? They ask you a question and you ask them a question. Let them figure it out.
I like that,
because that's how. So that's how they're gonna learn. If you're always giving them the answer, then you're really helping them. I don't have an issue. They ask me a question, I'll ask a question back. What you got, and then conversation starts, and there you go. Opportunity to learn for him and for me as well. So it depends on the player. So honestly. Sometimes you just got to keep it simple with some of them. Sometimes you can go into a little rabbit hole with them, and it's good. It really, it's one of the things that you have to be able to connect with them in order for them to trust you like that, because they're not going to just do it.
No doubt.
So, yeah.
One of the, and I tailored the question to probably your everyday guy. Well, what about the players that aren't playing every single day? So you'll have, a couple of extras on the bench, and maybe they play 2 to 3 games a week. How do you handle those conversations? Because it's tough to play a couple times a week. And I'm sure that those guys are around you a whole lot more, and they're, you're trying to help them because, everyone is a prospect, and you want to see them do well with and successful with their opportunities, but it's not easy to go several games in a row without playing.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. It's tough. It's tough to get rhythm, especially with hitting. Here's something that the players can tell you. I treat everybody the same way. I don't look at the lineup until we're about to go play. I don't even write it down until we're about to go play. And my reasoning behind it is I'm treating everybody the same way if they were playing or they were not playing. We're getting ready for the game, whether you're playing or not. It's like sometimes it's like 45 minutes to a game. And it's like, hey man, today I want you to, try this. Oh, Puentes, I'm not playing. It's like, oh shit, I'm sorry, cuz. It's like, oh man, I'm sorry. It's like, I didn't know. It's like, no, that's good. We work the same way. So it's like, I try to prepare everybody like they were playing. And again, now it's more of the expectation is there. Like I expect them to work like if they were playing in the cage. Obviously, sometimes, hey, it's optional today. Sometimes they want the day off, which is fine. Sure. It's just great. But at the same time, and we had some guys, a couple guys come to mind that they were in that role and got their opportunity and they were ready. Now they're doing it great. And now they're they earned the spot. So it's like the other guys see that. It's like, man, it's like you just gotta get in there, have got good at bats, gotta get ready. So I think that's helped. Like part of the environment in here is like everybody's gonna be treated the same, whether they're playing or not, whether they're a prospect or not. We're gonna work on our swing regardless of what the status is in the organization. We want to help everybody.
Sure.
We can't help everybody, but we're going to try. So we're going to definitely try.
I like that. One of the things that I think I struggle with, and I'd love your advice, and that's, okay, let's say that my strength is middle end fastballs with sink. I just throwing some things out there. Yeah. Middle end fastballs with sink, and this guy is like a high four-seam ride guy who likes to live at the top of the zone, and I like it, middle and down. And so you've got this, you've got, when your strengths match up against the pitcher's strengths, then I feel, nice. It's nice. But if it's completely the opposite, like if my swing and heat map is different, completely opposite of the pitcher's hot zones and where they throw it and the type of pitches that they throw, then, what advice would you give me?
Let's just say we're at this level, right? Let's just say we're at this level. Or any level, heck, it's the same.
Sure, yeah.
Especially, and maybe the big leagues, it's not as much. I would tell you that to stay with what you're good at because they're going to miss. They're going to miss. That dude is going to miss in your zone, and you have to be ready for that. And you have to be okay with, I don't want to say fail, but like just say going down with, let's say he paints 3 up in the zone away from you. It's like, okay, whatever. I tip your hat. You got me there, but there'll be another at bat. They're gonna miss. It's just a matter of when. And if you're, and now here's the other thing: if you're not at the moment, you're not good at the pitcher's strengths. Why would I tell you to? Hey, these guys are up in the zone. I want you to look up in the zone. When I know, like mechanically, you're not going to be able to handle that.
Okay.
I would probably approach it like that. And be ready to hit the mistake whenever you get it, which you'll get at least once or twice per game. It's going to happen. And the other thing that could happen is, let's say you paint stuff up in the zone and then you pregame, that, and then you go out there and you look up and away in the zone. What you end up doing is you end up chasing up and away in the zone instead of, looking for your area when you're good at. Same concept as you got a guy that has like a slider that's across, like they love pitching outside, and it's like they go look for that and end up chasing off the plate instead of looking middle in because that's what their hanging slider is going to be. So does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
and again, it's just like being aware of your strengths and weaknesses is great, but trusting it that your strengths are gonna be okay against, depending on the pitcher. If it's only one pitch, then we're gonna be okay. But it's like in your case, your example, I would tell you that just look down and in, or look middle in. He's gonna miss. They all do. I
Sure.
laugh because it's funny. They do. Even in the big leagues, they do. They
Hmm.
miss a lot in the zone. So it's tough. The stuff is better, but they
Sure.
miss. So
No, that's good. And when you say, when your advice would be like, when you get it, don't miss it. When they miss, don't miss it.
exactly. And then so we do that in the games, right? And then they get it and they miss it and they look at me in the dugout and I'm just smiling and they're
Sure. Oh yeah.
smiling back. They're like,
Gosh, dang it.
they know. Yes, they know. They're like, dang it. It's like, it's okay. It's like,
That's good.
hopefully you get it again. So it's like, we
Sure.
don't, yeah, it's funny, but it's like, you can see a little head spinning. But
Hmm.
that happens a lot. It's just like, it's fun, man. Being in the dugout, watching them compete, trusting the stuff you've been working with them on and stuff. It's like you're in the box with them. At least the way I see it is that I'm right
Oh
there
yeah.
with them, and
Hmm.
it's fun.
No, that's so good. Well, I've got one more question, and then we'll get to the quick
Mhm.
hitters.
Okay.
So I'm a high school coach. You've got a lot of high school coaches that are listening, and you see the game from pro ball down, for the most part. I'm sure you're grinding every single day. But what do you like? You're getting these teenage kids, these early 20s kids, and is there anything that we are overlooking that we should be teaching better, or is there anything new that you think that we should be teaching? But just mainly, is there anything that we're overlooking right now that we can start teaching that you think would be super beneficial?
I think. I mean, I don't consider myself new school, um, or old school. I mean, I grew up playing old school. Just kind of adapted as the time went. I think we gotten away from um, being okay with hitting with two strikes. Um, it's just this, and I'm not saying cut down in the swing. Heck no, it's like get your swing, like hit the ball hard, like not pressing when there's two strikes. Like if you see it everywhere, two strikes, oh here comes the slider down. You know, like it's so predictable at times. It's very rare that you have the pitcher that just goes right after you. It's just that the pitchers are chasing strikeouts, you know. So I don't know if it's a combination of like their pitcher stuff is better and our approaches are bad, or is it just the approaches that are bad at every level? Like like I was telling you earlier, they're gonna miss. Like we need to be okay working the count and seeing more pitches. The more pitches you'll see, the more likely you're going to get a mistake. Now, you do again. It depends. If you have a guy that know you're in the zone, like we're gonna go. So it's like it depends. Like at the high school level, I would definitely preach play discipline and understanding the zone, really understanding the zone. Um, I mean, I have a 12-year-old son, and that kid doesn't swing unless he's like right there. And he's like he we worked on that stuff like in the cage. It's like we do kickouts and whatever we do. He won't, and sometimes he's 12, and so he's the strikeouts he gets sometimes, and like the ball's like a foot outside, you know. And he goes back to the dugout. It's like it's okay,
Hmm.
that's a bad call.
Sure.
But when I grow up, that's gonna be a ball. Like he'll say stuff like that. So if we could just like had conversations with you coaches and oh you gotta expand the zone. You gotta expand the zone because then you lose the game. It's like, well, then what are we doing? Are we playing to win the game? Of course, but are you trying to develop the kid? So do we get lost in winning all the time, and we forget that if we teach it the right thing, and the kid probably own the thing. They're like, oh, they understand it. They're smart. I don't know how young you can start that. And, sometimes I do like sessions and stuff in the off season, and I have as young as 11. And it's like I that's the one thing I besides a lot of things, that's the one thing that I'm on it about. It's like, hey, that's the ball. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
It's harder. So
Sure.
it's like, it sounds very simplistic, very
Mm-hmm.
old school, but it's the pitchers are pitching to chase. So
Sure. Yeah. And, one of the things that helped me with this too, I'd love to hear more about it. But one of the things this summer, I'm coaching a 15U summer team. And I really don't know much about these kids. We've had a couple of practices, and then we're going into games. And the first day we won one and lost one. And by the time the weekend was over, we had these conversations of if we're going to err, I would rather them err on the side of swinging at more in the zone with fastballs. And so I was we had this conversation of, okay, what are you going to see more than anything, especially
at that level.
Yeah, and at varsity, we had a good team, and so there were games where we would see more. There were games where we saw more breaking balls and off-speed pitches than fastballs. But majority of the time, you're going to get at least one, like you mentioned. You're going to get at least one fastball for a strike in the zone that's good to hit, and especially the lower that you go with the freshman level, a lot of these kids, are told not to throw breaking balls yet, and so it's like we're taking a ton of fastballs in the zone and hard at the plate. And, just err on the side of aggression to that pitch. Like, make sure you do your prep work, make sure you're ready. But yeah, anything along the lines of that, I would love to hear you expand on.
I would ask them. Heck, I'll ask you if you can think about could you think of a big leaguer that going through the system was not good at hitting a fastball? Like all the big leaguers, that's the one thing they do. They smash the fastball, and then you learn how to, as you go up, learn how to hit spin, not the other way around. So, and then at that level, like most of the spin is going to be a ball, and then you're going to have like high leverage counts. It's going to be easier to hit.
Right. Exactly.
You're going to have to get in there. So it's like, I would definitely preach and definitely practice that, like make it like a norm. It's like when you have cage settings, like don't care. I don't care if you swung at a ball and you hit it at 95. That's over the long term. That doesn't work. You got lucky that one time. So yeah, I mean, sometimes it happens, but if you think long term and you just practice that over and over and over, they're gonna know. And it should be ingrained in them. So it's like, it sounds like super old school, but it is. I mean, it is. It's just like hunt the fastball, until it's time not to. So at that level, that's when I coached high school. That's what we did.
Sure.
And it's like the guy was throwing. 2018, I probably had coach one of the best high school teams I ever had. Had a bunch of guys that go in college and play baseball and stuff. And so the year before I got there, they were averaging like 2 runs a game.
Okay.
And the same guys, then the next year we're averaging almost 10. And a bunch of walks, and then boom. So it's like there'll be games where we're like, the second inning, we know there's no curve. I would tell him, hey, there's no curveball. It's like, Coach, what do you mean? It's like, he's like, dude, it's a ball.
Sure.
Every time. Like here. And I would show him, it's like, go in there and hunt for your fastball. It's coming. And all of a sudden, it's 2-0, 3-1. And then we're like, high leverage counts. We're getting it. And it's like, metal bat, that ball is going to go. Right. So it's like, at that level, it's like, why not? If anything, take your base, be on base, learn how to be a good base runner, steal. There's a lot to be done there too. So
sure.
I know everybody wants to get in there and hit, but it's not the only way to be productive.
Right.
So, and then, I mean, I'm saying that as a hitting coach, that's kind of like, I don't want to be patient, either passive. I want to be passive.
Sure.
I want to be aggressive on the right pitch. It goes back to the stuff I was telling you earlier. It wasn't the right pitch. So
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So if you talk to hitting coaches, to pitching coaches, I talk to pitchers, and when a hitter gets in there and they take, let's just say at 2-0, you're up, you're 2-0, you're ahead of the count, and they spin a slider like Payne, there's a runner on first, like that's supposed to be like a ground ball double play, and the hitter takes that, the pitcher, I'm telling you, most of them are gonna be upset. It's like, dude, you're supposed to swing at that, you know? And what are the chances the guy is gonna spin it, throw you that same slider, paint it again? Not very likely.
Mm-hmm.
Next time they're gonna try to do that, they're probably gonna hang it down the middle, and here we go. So, it's just like there's not. I know, and this is, you heard this probably before. Like there's a strike, and there's also like a strike. Does that make sense? Like it's painted. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I'll get another one.
Sure.
So, a lot of conversations with the players happen. I did a lot of that in high school too. It's like, so it could be taught. It could be taught.
Sure.
It definitely could be taught, and it's a simple thing. It's just a simple thing. The sooner they can learn that, the better player, the better hitter they're going to be for sure.
Definitely. No, I agree with you completely. And it's something that I think that you can train that in practice every day. And, one of the simple things that I think I like throwing BP with like some sort of strike zone. Like the other day I used a chair because we didn't have any
med ball or something. Yeah.
Med ball or something. But like some of the guys were taking pitches and they would hit the chair and they'd be like, oh, okay. Or then it just brought immediate feedback, or they'd swing in one and they'd be like, okay, was that a strike? And usually in BP, they're not thinking about that after they swing. But then it's kind of like your question of, how many swings do you want? When you have something that gives them that feedback, then that's what their mind's going to go to. It gives them some purpose and some intent with every swing that they're taking. And so then we would do like 2 strike rounds, and I would try and strike them out. Or then we would do like, okay, 3 like leverage counts or hitters counts, and swinging at certain zones. And you're making them make decisions, and it's a simple way to do it. Like it doesn't have to be super complex, and you don't have to attach a trackman to every VP session. But
exactly. And here's the other thing, that at that age they start pressing about performance, because they want to go play college and they're playing summer ball, and there's people watching games, right? So they think the only way to get noticed is to actually like hit. And I've talked to scouts, and they're like, it's like, man, this guy's like zone, like discipline is terrible. It's like, and that's hard to learn as you move up the levels. It's actually harder to, if you don't have it earlier, it's tough to make it like better. It can get better, but it's tough. And so if they start learning that at this level, at 15 or even younger,
mm-hmm.
they're gonna be dangerous. If they learn how to swing at the right pitch, that's just like, that's what we want. We want the pitchers to miss.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, what you're doing all the right things, man. You just gotta keep preaching it. And sometimes it's like, oh, I got struck out. There's the umpire. Yeah, the umpire this game. They're not pros. It's okay.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
So it's the tough thing. It's just like, because you do want to win, but you will win more like this long term. You will. The players will get better. You're winning. You probably win a lot of games.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, I've got a couple quick hitters before you go. And the first one is, what's something that you've learned lately that you're excited to learn more about?
So I'm learning more and more about the body. How the body moves. I've read a couple of books. I dig deep into a book called How We Learn to Move by Rob Gray.
Oh, that's a great one. Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's really good. Jason Cancer, he's gave it to me. He knows I'm trying to learn more and more.
Sure.
So that's one of the things that it's tough to do it in season, but definitely in the off season, I put more focus on it. In it. I'm learning how important it is to communicate with strength and conditioning coaches.
Okay.
How they can be so helpful when it comes to hitting. So like they can give you like a prep routine that completely changes somebody's like mechanics without even a hitting drill. So it's I think we need to do better. As I kind of let go of the ego. It's like, oh, I'm the hitting coach. It's like, oh, you need to be able to rely on all the resources that you
Mm-hmm.
have.
Sure.
Definitely, we're gonna dig into more of that in the off season. Try to get a couple of certifications done,
Mm-hmm.
and I can do it in English and Spanish, which is that's a huge advantage
That's
I have.
awesome. Sure.
Yeah, so that's I think that would put me in a really good position to be in quite a unique situation where I can do it in both languages. So
No doubt.
yeah.
Well, then I've got another question for you, and it's kind of the flip side. And thinking back to your high school coaching self, I'm going to cater this one to you. What do you wish you had known as a high school coach that you know now? What if you could go back and plant a seed into your, whenever you were a high school hitting coach, what would you tell yourself?
Mechanically, or just concepts, or
Just like anything that you've learned since being in professional baseball, or maybe the biggest thing that you've learned that you think that would have helped you as an amateur.
I mean, this is how important strength is.
Okay, sure. No,
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, and but in general, if I was like mechanically, how overlooked deceleration is in the swing, like it's just like not talked enough. I just, man, I could have helped guys so much more, but we did what we could, what we have, with what I knew. So I'm still learning. You get when you get in this environment, you're blessed to start having conversations with people that you look up to, and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know this. You think you know stuff, and then you're like, oh, I don't know anything. So like being humble enough to accept and learn from other coaches is just, it's the problem is we go and it's like you think you know everything, and then they stay like that. Coaches stay in their ways instead of continue, to evolve and make the best version of yourself with everybody's knowledge. That's what I'm trying to do. So like everything that I've learned it from somebody. It's not, I didn't come up with come up with some stuff, but it's like, and then I try it with my son because it's my son. So if it doesn't work, it's fine. But it's just like little things here and there. I've gotten some stuff from the podcast you've done. It's like, oh,
Thank you.
Try that.
Sure.
So it's just this revolving door that just shouldn't stop. And unfortunately, there's a lot of ego in pro baseball, and that in my opinion, it gets in the way of developing, and which is the whole thing. Like we're trying to develop big leaders.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's really good. Well, I got one question for you before we go, but I first wanted to say, Jose, thanks for coming on the show, and I can't thank you enough for the knowledge that you've shared today, and for being an open book. But I did want you to leave the listeners with whatever you'd like. And so is there anything that we didn't cover, anything that you're passionate about, or anything that you want to leave our listeners with before you go?
If you're young, if you're a 16 or 15, 16, 17-year-old kid, get in the weight room. I can't stress that enough. The amount of sacrifice that you're going to have to make to be a big leaguer, that's what it's not many. It will be all worth it. Get your sleep, eat. I can't stress that enough. I think it's like we practice, and then they're left. So it's like, what are we doing? So you can have the most prettiest mechanics, but if you don't hit the ball hard, then it's not going to happen. So, being stronger is going to help you. Obviously do it under supervision, somebody that's going to, give you a good program or, anything. There's a lot of resources online. You don't even need to pay. So, start there. And as old school as it sounds, Jonathan, is like, just learn swings the right pitch and hit line drives. Stop trying to hit 40 launch angle home runs. And when you're 12, 13, that doesn't work. Hit line drives. And then as you get older, those line drives will keep going out of the field.
I love it.
So that's just like that's super old school, but it's like, and I see little kids. I talk to little kids all the time. It's like I have two kids. They're not here with me. They're back in San Antonio. So it's like, I always try to talk to two little kids at every stadium I go, try to get two baseballs and hand it to them. And I always say the same things. Like, I ask them, did you play baseball? And most of them say yes.
Mm-hmm.
And then it says like, hey, hit line drives, buddy. Just hit line drives. It's like, learn how to hit line drives. That's what we do here. So it's like, it's just simple. It's just simple. It's just this obsession with, it's fun to hit home runs. Get me wrong. Heck, we lead the league in home runs. So it's just like, we're trying to hit the ball hard in the air. Like, if it happens, great. But we're not there with an intent to like launch that thing 45 degrees in the air, And that stuff kind of works when they're young, but it's so hard to get kids away from that as they get older. It's better to teach like the way it's supposed to be taught earlier, and then just keep doing it, because it's worked for so many years. Like, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel? So we definitely want to be innovative, but it's like, some things work. Like, why change it? So I would just say that to younger kids, that college stuff is just a little bit different. And even college guys, high school guys, as soon as they get to college, they realize they're not, especially if you go to a JUCO, those guys are massive. It's like, you go to a big school,
no doubt.
They're massive. Everywhere you go, it's like, if you go to a AAA game, they're massive. Big leagues are like, it's no accident. So, that's also one thing, and that's something that can be controlled, because you can do that. Like, it has nothing to do with skill or anything like that. Just be consistent with it. Get in there and do it, and eventually it's gonna pay off. So it might take a while. That's the thing about the gym. Like, people stop because they don't see the results right away. If you just keep going, eventually you're gonna see, all of a sudden, you're like, you're all of a sudden you're throwing 93 or something when you can even do that before. So it's like, if you're hitting the ball over 100 all the time with bad mechanics. So it's like, that's what probably scouts look for,
Mm-hmm.
good frames and stuff like that. And, having the skills as a hitter, having some discipline, hitting with 2 strikes, all that stuff. It's not old school. That's always worked. So, that's what I have for you there. It's like, I hope if it just reaches one person, that'll be cool. But I hope somebody just says, man, that dude's that. But, that's something that I preach to my son.
Thank you so much for listening to Ahead of the Curve. If you would do us a huge favor, leave a rating or review wherever you are listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone and tag us on social media. That would help us so much with growing the show and helping others to stay ahead of the curve.